Thank you all for being here. I know that it's probably after a long day for all of you, and it shows how important these things are to you, and I appreciate it. So I want to talk a little bit about our budget for 2025. You've heard me talk, I'm sure those of you who are here are probably pretty dialed in, so you've heard me talk about all our lean processes over the years, or over the 2 years that I've been in office. We have not grown our city departments, even though the number of people in the city that we serve has grown quite substantially since we've been in office. And we presented what I consider a very lean budget this year. And I'm going to talk about that for a few minutes and show you what our priorities are, and talk about where we are, and then we'll turn it over to you, and you can ask any questions or share anything you want to. So I thought I'd kick things off with a fun little photo of Rex, our orange beloved dinosaur at Beach and Peach. Everybody loves dinosaurs, but nobody wants to get stuck in the past. And when I ran for office, I said I wanted to move this city forward. Wanted to make it a city that finally worked for everybody instead of just a handful of people, and that's what we have been trying to do. So I'm here tonight to talk about the city budget. They say it's a moral document, a budget. It's a value statement. So tonight you'll learn a little bit about the values that we have, at least in my administration. So more than half of every tax dollar in our city goes to police, fire, and rescue. As you can see, we allocate the rest to things like infrastructure, that's your street resurfacing, sidewalks, those things, health, education, economic development, so on. So how do we compare in Jacksonville with other Florida cities? Well, as you can see, our public safety spending on a per capita basis is not out of line with that of other major Florida cities. However, as a total percentage of overall budget, in Tampa and Orlando, they spend closer to 20% of their budget. In Miami, it's about 35%. In Jacksonville, for every $2 we spend in our general fund, $1 goes to public safety. And if you, if you recall, we had a return to a defined pension for our public safety employees this year. We felt it was very important, talking to police and fire about how important it was to recruiting, how important it was to retention. And so we returned to a defined pension for those employees, which we felt we needed to do, but it's an extra cost burden by a great deal in our budget. And we gave them very substantial raises, which they also deserve. We chose to invest in first responders because when a crisis hits, seconds matter, right? And lives are at stake. So we also have more than 840 square miles in Jacksonville to cover for our law enforcement, which is hundreds more than any of our peer cities. So I want to take a look at this slide. This reaffirms something that I have said over and over again. Jacksonville, we have a lean budget already. Do you see this? Our overall city budget spending per resident is among the very lowest in the state. I'm not bragging on that. I'm just telling you that's the case. And we're doing it with the lowest property tax rate of any major city in the state of Florida by far. So we have been responsible. I have not raised taxes. I have not asked to raise taxes. All I've said is, we're growing. Let's figure out how we can lean down the city government, but still make sure that we're paying for things that we need to pay for. So the proposed property tax cut that you're hearing about now from the city council is going to result in an average homeowner saving a little more than $1 per month. That's about 5 cents a day. And it does nothing for the roughly half of the people in our city who don't own homes but rent. They get zero. This cut eliminates $15 million annually for affordable housing, health programs, and other services that people say that they want. Affordable housing, if you recall, in a recent survey that was done by UNF, #1 concern for our residents right now. The cuts they're fussing over are less than 1% of our overall budget. Less than 1%. That's $15 million cut this year, and that may seem small out of a $2 billion budget, but it adds up to more than $76 million over the next 5 years. That's $76 million that we could use to resurface your roads, pave your sidewalks, make sure that we continue to fund police and fire and the rest of the city services that we need. That's a lot of money. That's not belt tightening. It risks compromising public safety and essential city services in the future. It's not just this is a gimmick. I'm just going to say what it is. It's a gimmick. It does nothing to address the affordability crisis that we're seeing right now. That's top of mind, as I said, for most of our residents. 5 cents a day in the pocket of the average homeowner means fewer affordable homes, more people homeless, senior citizens going to bed on an empty stomach, overcrowded emergency rooms, sicker adults, and all this adds up to, if you don't care about any of that, let me just say it all adds up to a big time lost economic opportunity. Here's the reality. We are the fastest growing city in the state of Florida. You may like that, you may not like it. But hopefully what you're seeing is that we are trying to do the best we can to manage that growth and to create momentum out of it. And we do have momentum right now in the city of Jacksonville. You've seen the cranes in the air. You've seen all the good things, hopefully, that are happening around our city. People from across the country and around the world are choosing our city, our river city by the sea, as I like to call it. So just look at this slide. It took Jacksonville 50 years to grow by 500,000 people from the time of our consolidation to the present day. At the current rate of our growth, the next 500,000 will be added in half that time, between now and 2050. So 50 years to grow by 500,000, and we'll be growing by that number by 2050 again. Growth brings new jobs, businesses, opportunities, also brings a bunch of challenges, right? And we have to make sure we're handling those correctly. Data indicates that without investment in our people, we will remain a tale of two cities, with parts of our city benefiting from this growth while others fall increasingly behind. Ultimately, that hurts all of us economically. Look at how long our residents live. Now, this is good news for you guys in Mandarin, okay? Y'all are going, I got mine, I don't care. No, I know you do. Now, as a city, our average life expectancy is 2 years lower than the state and national averages. But depending on where you live in Jacksonville, the gap can get pretty big. For example, if you live in the Loretto neighborhood, on average, you're going to live to be 87. But in College Garden, a neighborhood over near UF Health, your median life expectancy is just 62, a 25-year gap. That's what I'm trying to change, among other things. Because when we invest with purpose, we don't just balance ledgers. We add years to life and life to years, and we also supercharge our economy. Tonight, I'm going to highlight 3 investments the Finance Committee cut or reduced, and I'm asking for your help to fully restore them if, in fact, you agree with what we're doing, and if you don't, I still want to hear from you about why. Our budget is a budget for the people. Our proposals for addressing hunger, access to health care, and affordable housing will not solve every problem, but they are lifelines to those who receive assistance, and they help thousands of people move from just surviving to thriving. For the rest of us, it means economic benefit that comes from keeping our citizens healthy and in their homes. So let's start with affordable housing and homelessness. Now, we've all heard about the cost of housing lately, right? In 10 of our 14 city council districts, the housing cost burden exceeds the national average. That should move us from debate to action. I've proposed nearly $12 million for affordable housing and homelessness prevention. The Finance Committee cut $7.8 million, which includes all of our local funding for affordable housing. These initiatives were a continuation of pilot programs that have proven to be very successful. Here's what these projects could accomplish in year 1. We would build 60 additional homes that are affordable. We would help 85 working families buy their first home. We would keep 80 families in their homes by diverting them from eviction, and we would move hundreds more into transitional housing. The idea is to keep at-risk families from falling into homelessness. When a family can afford a safe home, kids are healthier, work is steadier, and neighborhoods are stronger. Doing all that is, in my mind, the right thing to do, but to do so is also the economic imperative. I really want to make sure I'm making the economic argument here, because I know not everybody is moved by what I consider the moral argument, right? This is good for our economy. These programs, which we hope the full council will restore, would provide economic benefit of over $30 million in just 1 year, a return on investment, an ROI of more than 300%. If the moral reasons for keeping families housed don't persuade our city council, I hope the economic reasons can move the needle. Now, access to food. This is a quiet emergency in plain sight. Wait a minute. I don't have the rest of my notes here. Where are they? Well, hang on. I don't have it. Thank you. Appreciate it, Melissa. What did I do there? Nearly 1 in 5 of our neighborhoods cannot reliably afford groceries, even before you factor in inflation. Hunger in our community is so widespread that 11 of 14 city council districts clock in at above the national average. Hunger is also expensive. It adds thousands in healthcare costs per person every year. That's all passed along, guys. This doesn't just stay in one place. Every missed meal weakens a household and slows our local economy. We need to treat this like smart infrastructure. Invest $1 now to prevent a costly ER visit later. That's why my budget included $2.2 million for Meals on Wheels to support 2,000 older adults who are shut-ins who do not get access to food any other way. Okay? These folks can't go to our senior centers. The Finance Committee cut and then only restored some of this funding. And we need full funding restored because rising inflation will only exacerbate the problem of hunger. As I said before, government cannot be the solution for everything, okay? But what we need to do, if the private sector is not solving a problem, we need to start to find a solution to that problem and look for private sector partners. Does that make sense to anybody in here? That's what we're trying to do here. And every year, the effort is to grow that private sector involvement as we continue to show proof of concept with these pilot programs. So we receive an amazing return on investment for this Meals on Wheels program, about $4.8 million in reduced healthcare spending each and every year. That's roughly 100% return on investment. And it gives our homebound seniors dignity, which they richly deserve. So let's be the city where no seniors or kids go hungry and no working family has to choose between groceries and the light bill. So finally, access to health care. If you've tried to book a doctor's appointment lately, you know the wait. Our data confirms what families live through every day. Jacksonville has fewer primary care physicians and pediatricians than Orlando, Tampa, or Miami. Our ratio of primary care physicians to patients is one of our weaker points in our city. In 10 of 14 council districts, the number of primary care physicians per resident is worse than in our Florida peer cities. And when primary care is out of reach, people turn to the ER. Parents miss work, and preventable conditions become chronic. The human cost is heavy, and the economic cost is real. That's why I've called for investment in our telehealth program, which has been wildly successful through HealthLink Jax and primary care access via Jax Care Connect. And I want to point out in the middle of my comments here that your council person, Michael Boylan, has been just absolutely, there he is in the back. Wave, Michael. Has been absolutely essential to getting a lot of these services, Jax Care Connect and others, from our critical quality of life report that he spearheaded, that really outlined for us what all these needs are. So Michael, thank you for always being there to invest in health and to know that your community is counting on you for the help that they need. I appreciate you being here tonight. He's another person, doesn't have to spend his evening here, and I appreciate very much Michael being here, and he's been a huge champion for our healthcare investments. The investment is modest at $3.9 million. Again, the Finance Committee cut these programs and then only restored some of that funding. However, we need that funding to be totally restored, as thousands of our neighbors are likely to be pushed out of Affordable Care Act plans or Medicaid because of the bill that just passed Congress. I hope y'all are following that. Nationwide, the Congressional Budget Office says almost 17 million people are going to lose their health care when this kicks in 2027, conveniently right after the midterms. So please pay attention to that. That's going to cost us locally tens of thousands of folks that are going to get kicked off their health care. So these small investments really do pay off in reduced emergency room visits and productivity gains that come from a healthy workforce. The investments from these two programs has an ROI of 248%. Primary care is civic infrastructure, and it's cheap, y'all. Primary care is not expensive. The stuff that we need our insurance for so much, the stuff that we spend so much money on, is when we get cancer or when we get a disease that's tough to treat. Primary care, if we could just provide an opportunity for people to stay out of those ERs before things get crazy worse, is so inexpensive for us. Primary care is keeping families healthy, businesses productive, and our safety net strong. So let me close with a simple truth here. A responsible budget doesn't just fund police and fire, as important as that is. It opens doors to a set of house keys, a stocked pantry, and a doctor's visit on time. These investments pay for themselves and then some. So if you'd like a deeper dive into some of the data behind tonight's presentation, please visit our new data tank at stateofjax.org, which incidentally the Finance Committee also cut from our proposed budget, but we're looking for ways to bring that back too. Because every business owner will tell you, every successful business will tell you, ask the NFL, how important is data? How important is knowing what you're dealing with? So hiding data from our people is not a recipe for success. It's what separates us from being the city that hasn't been mired in mediocrity and a city that is a world-class city. That's what it separates. So my budget goals are simple and common sense: safer streets, stronger neighborhoods, and a city where talent meets affordability. Jacksonville is on the move. We are finally on the move. And now we have to decide whether our momentum will lead to our shared prosperity or only benefit a handful of our well-connected individuals. So let's invest in our people and our future as a city. So now I am gonna shut my mouth and take your questions, and I appreciate you and I appreciate your partnership. So thank you again for being here. So what I'm gonna ask you to do, hang on one second, what I'm gonna ask you to do is, if you have a question, because we only have the one mic, I'm gonna ask you to just step down here. You don't have to stand in line if you don't want to, but if you just step down here so it'd make it easier on the folks that are here, and just talk into the mic for me. Come on up. You can line up if you want to, or you could just wait. And I'd ask you to try to keep it brief.
Wow. How has the federal government's cut back? How has the federal government's cutbacks in Lutheran social services, Catholic charities, Jewish family, the services that they provided that no longer are going to be available, how does that impact our city?
Well, as I said, it impacts us pretty dramatically. And this is why I make the argument that what we need to do is try to make all of our companies in Jacksonville and our nonprofits and others recognize that if we can all pull together on these things, we can't make the federal government or the state government fund anything they don't want to fund, right? But what we can do is pull together as a community, as the community that, and what I always say is our job as city elected officials, we are the people that are closest to all of you. We see the needs, we need to address the needs, and we shouldn't be more concerned about either our party or our progress in our careers than we are about our people. Now, I say that as an older person, And I know that we have younger people on the council who have careers that they're concerned about, and I get that. I really do. I feel for them, actually. I do feel for them because they're under a great deal of pressure. In some cases, they're being told that you don't march in this direction and we'll find somebody to replace you. But at the end of the day, it comes down to doing the right thing for the people of our city. That's how we become a great city.
Thank you. A lot of Republicans voted for you. Just thought I'd let you know. I have a question. I have some comments. Sorry. Meals on Wheels. Instead of Meals on Wheels, couldn't we contract with, say, Walmart to make up dinners? And we have a lot of Uber people and have them delivered. Get a good contract with either a Walmart or some place to deliver foods. And I don't mean an expensive place. I mean a place that we can get affordable meals. I go to Walmart for my food, and I hate Walmart. But I've had to. I never shopped in Walmart till about 3 years ago. So that's...
Lynn, are you here? Can you come up? I want Lynn Sherman to talk about this because we've had questions like this, and we've partnered with an organization called AD Truth. Is that right, Lynn? Yes. And I want you to know that. Can I borrow this just for 1 second before you give that to Lynn? I did some research on Meals on Wheels the other day because somebody at a meeting that I attended said that the CEO made an outrageous amount of money and that I shouldn't be supporting Meals on Wheels. Well, I looked it up. The national CEO does make a lot of money, but even locally, you're talking about a $12 million budget. So if you look on things like Charity Navigator and you see what their CEOs make, the local person, it's right in line with what we're told is good governance. So you can be upset that people who are working for good are making some money. But overall, this organization gets high marks. So I'm going to let Lynn talk about the rest.
And that is exactly right. Meals on Wheels, who Aging True is the organization who runs Meals on Wheels, and they have years of experience and excellent experience feeding seniors, and they're also responsible for sticking to the Old Americans Act in terms of how they feed folks. Because as you realize, as we get older, we have healthcare issues, and that means that we have to have specific type of diets, low sodium, and they're very careful about making sure that they stick to those diets. And I want to say that one of the things we challenged Meals on Wheels to do under this contract is to work with smaller organizations, to the point that you made, in an effort to see how they might be able to do things a little bit differently and even serve folks who might have diabetes and liver disease and other illnesses without raising the cost. And they have done that, and they have done that very, very well. Absolutely. That's one of the biggest values of the Meals on Wheels is that the folks who deliver the food, they're not just there to drop off a meal and to leave. They're actually there to ensure, to do a check, to ensure, a wellness check, to ensure that that person is not just getting that meal, but they are doing well. Yes, they are able to move around, and there are no dangers within their house, and that they're healthy and doing well. Because if not, then they've been trained to contact the right people so that those seniors can get the wraparound services that they need to have in order to be well and to be healthy. So it's more than just going to Walmart and getting a meal.
It goes from food to wellness. So when you go to wellness, telehealth, I totally agree. Couldn't the city make a contract, or the Duval County make a contract with, again, one of these companies, maybe it's a Walmart, maybe it's a CVS, and do a telehealth thing? We do. You do? Yeah, we do that. We do that with Telescope Health. Oh, good. Okay, so you do that. So what's wrong with that?
Telehealth that's a different program, but that simply keeps people out of the emergency room. See if you think you're having a heart attack, or not You don't know. So instead of racing down to the emergency room to basically be turned around and said you have indigestion or something, you get the doctor on the telehealth call, and he or she can connect you with services that you need from a number of the clinics that are involved in the program, and you avoid all of that cost that again gets passed down to all of us.
Did you notify people in the city that this exists?
Oh my gosh, yes, we've done.
On TV commercials or something?
Well, we've held phone banks about it. We've put out press releases about it. We've been on all the television stations about it. Yeah, we go to churches. It shows you how hard it is to get this information out. Now, if we started running commercials, that'd probably be our entire budget for everything. So we probably can't do that. But we really have tried to work with all of our partners to get that information out. But I want to remind you that all of these things are a tiny portion of that $2 billion budget. And that what they're designed to do is to create a proof of concept. Is this worth us investing our money in and asking the community to invest their money in? Is it not worth it? And then we can come back after these pilots run, because they're not huge, right? Come back after these pilots run and say, you know what? That saved us millions of dollars. Maybe we should, now we can go to these different companies and different, who have programs or want to invest in our community and say, would you take a bigger piece of that? And so that's the goal every year, is to turn more and more of this over to the private sector as we prove that it actually gives us an economic boost to do so.
I used to see dentists in my school. They used to check our eyes. We had an optician come to the school. We had our ears checked. We had teachers check us every week.
And they continue to do that. Vision is Priceless is excellent at going to schools, and they're excellent at checking the vision of young children to ensure that they're able to see at a young age. But what I wanted to say was, not only do people have an opportunity to have a telehealth call, their cell phone, talking to a doctor, an emergency room doctor, who is giving them the same level of information that you will get when you go into the emergency room to see a doctor face to face, but it's not costing them anything. So not only will that happen, what else will happen is that person will be connected within 24 hours with a navigator who is going to make sure that person is embedded into one of our free clinics. And they're going to follow them at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and a year to ensure that they are connected to primary care. So what does that do? That keeps down the cost of emergency room visits, because they don't have to go anymore, because now they have a primary care source.
I'm glad to hear we already have it. Where are we paying for it? It's not getting in line.
Yeah, good to see you too. Personal story, and it leads to my question about healthcare. So 2 weeks ago, I had to check my mother into the emergency room. She had just gone to her appointment to get an EKG, and they basically said, if you don't get into the emergency room right now, you may have a heart attack. She was at UF Health. She got good care. She was in that emergency room that the city pays for. And I think I had to see that myself for me to fully appreciate how local government has a role in healthcare, because seeing the fear in her face, figuring out what was wrong with her, making sure that she got the care that she needed, just became really important to me. So I guess my question to you is, when you're having this discussion with City Council and they feel that healthcare is not the role of local government, why do you think that's different? And she's lucky. She's on Medicare. She's 68. But for being 68, she would have been on the Affordable Care Act and would have lost her coverage. So God knows if she would have been able to even go up to emergency room and be able to afford it, because it would bankrupt her. So these stories are not unique. They happen to everyone. So I'm just curious to see how you try to change that.
When you say how would that be different, I'm trying to figure out, are you asking me about council, or are you asking?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So City Council has said I've watched the finance committees, and they basically said that they don't believe that the city has a role to play in healthcare. They don't think it's important. Not to the same degree as infrastructure, public safety, and all the other things. But you've clearly made that a main component of your administration. So, and investing in UF Health is one of those things that's been important to you as well. So I was just curious from your standpoint why you think it's important for everyone to understand that.
Yeah, look, again, I want to point out, public safety, 51% of the budget. Debt, pension, and other sub-funds, 23% of the budget. Health, education, and contracts, 12% of the budget. So you go down the list of things that we're spending money on. This is a small portion of the budget that makes a big impact. And the reason that I am so committed to that, well, obviously, you all know my backstory. I've spent my entire adult life trying to create better access for people for healthcare because I've seen too many people die from cancer unnecessarily because they didn't have access to what they needed. All I'm trying to do is to create a pathway to a solution that it will ultimately have far more to do with the private sector than it does with the public sector. But what everybody wants to see is proof of concept, but they also want to see that there's skin in the game from the city. Is there skin in the game? And in this case, it's a tiny little bit of skin. Okay? And then we're asking our partners around the city to fill in. So I am not trying in any way to say that Jacksonville can provide health care for people. That's not the point. We want to show a way forward, a more compassionate and economically viable way for our city to survive as it grows by leaps and bounds. 17,000 people a year are moving to this city. And we have a lot of folks that are, getting up in age. We want to make sure they don't fall off some cliff because the federal government has decided that they're going to kick millions of people off of health care. Obviously, you know where I stand on that. Some of you may completely disagree with me, but I am just completely of the belief that health is the foundation of any sort of a decent life. And I feel like in our city, with all the health resources that we have just world-class health resources. And UF Health doesn't get any better than UF Health, Daniel. Doesn't get any better. They're fantastic. Yeah, they're fantastic. But we'll continue to invest in them because it's the right thing to do, but it also will mean millions of dollars into our economy as we can. It's my same argument for homelessness and affordable housing. Keep people in the workforce. Keep them healthy. Keep them happy. That's what we're trying to do here, right? Thank you. Come on up.
The first thing I'd like to say, overall, I really appreciate your affordable housing budget. I appreciate that in the budget. I actually looked at the entire thing. I don't have many problems with it other than the $638 million for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office per request to TK Waters. My main issue is I haven't seen in this town TK Waters protect and serve the people. It seems to me he's mainly concerned about protecting and serving himself. Is there anything that you can do to talk to him about making sure that the money is being put to good use efficiently?
Let me first just say this. I know I get it. I understand, and people see videos and they see things, and I believe that Sheriff Waters is doing his very best to keep this community safe. I really do. I think he is far and away more transparent with those investigations than his predecessors. And while it certainly isn't perfect, it's a tough job, man. It's a tough job, and they're not always going to be perfect. But I'm just telling you, every town hall I go to, people say to me, "Could I get more police in my neighborhood to stop the speeding down my streets? Could I get more police because we got this smash and grab stuff going on? Can I get more police because my kid can't even walk down the street because people aren't following the traffic laws?" We have a huge city, and I truly hear your frustration. But I have to say that nobody's perfect, but I think this sheriff is trying to create a safer, better city. And if he's not going to stand up for the people who work for him and say, "You got to show me if my guys are doing something wrong, and if they're not, I'll discipline them," I don't know that anybody will, right? So I respect where you're coming from, but I do think he's doing the best he can to create a safer environment. I do. Thank you. Sure. Can I say something? Yeah.
I'm one of the chairs for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Watch in this district, and I would invite any of you who feel there's a need for more security or whatever where you live to come and join us. It is the third Tuesday of every month at the substation over here off of Prominence, whatever it's called, Prominence Park, I think is the road. I have brought friends with me on multiple occasions who have spoken directly with officers following our meeting and have gotten the help that they need. Several of my neighbors have gotten the help that they need, people looking in their windows or creeping around. Our neighborhood, personally, I had a report of kids from another neighborhood jumping the fence in our pool, and they came over, gave us the documents we needed to give them the trespass permission, and took care of the issue. So they are very responsive when you take that time to build relationships with them. And I think that the redistricting has really given them the opportunity to do that a lot better.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I appreciate those efforts. I want to also say to my friend that was just up here, I don't know where you went, but he is also an elected official. So the sheriff is elected like I'm elected, and in our consolidated government, I don't have the ability to say, hey, sheriff, do this. Any more than he has the ability to say, hey, mayor, do this. We're both elected. He is in charge of law enforcement, and I'm in charge of making our city better in terms of how we legislate, and that is that's where those duties end. So, are you ready?
I'll go in easy to answer order to the killer one. One, not really. Okay, UF Health, is that still the only level 1 trauma center in the entire city? So have we been able to extrapolate yet what's going to happen in 2027 if 17,000 people, I think there was an estimate for how many would lose their insurance in Duval. Is there any danger of that hospital having to close if the city stops its support and the number of patients who have affordable care can't go there? That's my first question.
So our contribution to UF Health has gotten quite large. I think this year our contribution just in terms of their services is $56 million. And then we're putting millions more into the trauma center and other things. It is a wonderful resource to have, but yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons that we're doing some of these other things. We've got to somehow take the pressure off of UF Health. I mean, they are, I'm sure, Daniel, when you were in that emergency room, you saw, I mean, that's like a war zone in there. I mean, those people are heroes, and many of them have been there like 15, 20 years. It's crazy. But we have to continue to support UF Health because that is our safety net hospital. And it's going to get, if indeed we get 30 to 50,000 people who lose their health care in 2027, that's going to be an absolutely, if we're not doing other things to try to like these telehealth programs and things like that to try to ease off the pressure on UF Health, it's going to be unsustainable for them.
My next question is the property tax cuts. Do they propose cutting all property taxes completely or just a millage change? And is that going to be on a ballot?
So you're thinking of two different things. The state government is proposing, well, they're not proposing to eliminate property taxes per se. The governor has said that. But they're looking at 5 or 6 different options for reducing or getting rid of property taxes. That is entirely how we fund public safety. So I have no idea what we would do. I've heard they might add 13% to the sales tax or whatever. But my concern about that is, in addition to the fact that would be an even bigger burden for most of our folks, is that it would be very, very dependent on the economy. Say you go into a deep recession, you're not going to get nearly as much in sales tax as you're going to get. So. Like I said, we're talking about, I want you to understand again that we're not talking about this $15 million we're talking about for this year. Obviously, I don't want to see all the programs cut. I've said that. But it's not this year that's going to torpedo us. It's the fact that compounds year after year after year after year. And so while you're saving $1.50 a month, on your and look, some of y'all may own really gorgeous big $1 million homes and you're going to save more. But I'm just saying your average homeowner after your what is the term I'm looking for? Homestead exemption, thank you. Is saving about $1.50. So it's a trade-off that I don't really understand unless it's a political decision, which at this point there seems to be a great deal of political pressure to do this. Oh, and by the way, for the state, that would have to go through the state constitution, so they would have to put it on the ballot. But you know what's interesting? You're going to find this shocking, but tax reduction is really popular in the polls, and that's why I feel a need to be here to explain to you. I'm not trying to raise your taxes. I'm simply saying to you, we already have a very low millage rate, and why are we trying to hurt our city by lowering it for a reason that I think is purely performative?
I was never able to determine for myself at the last election where TK Waters was elected as well. No. Okay. Does he live in Duval? Okay. Now here's the tough one. My representative since 2017 has been Rutherford, and he has not entertained any public town halls in 8 years. We see him on TV all the time. Him and Scott are right behind somebody all the time at a podium. But does he come and call on you when he's in town to say, how are things going? What can I do for you? Okay. Is he helpful? Okay. I'm glad he's helpful.
Now, I would have preferred that he didn't vote for that bill that just passed. But I mean, but in terms of helping me, for instance, when we went and got that Emerald Trail grant, he and Aaron Bean were both very helpful in helping us to get that grant last year. Unfortunately, as you probably saw, it got pulled under the new administration because different set of priorities. Well, no, it isn't almost done. The grant was supposed to be a situation where you would finish a section, you get reimbursed. You finish a section, you get reimbursed. But look, we'll continue to apply for that money. But I'm making a point that they have been very helpful on that front.
Two quick questions. And if you would bring up your pension for the firemen and policemen, my question is directed towards that. It was, I think, the first or second one. It's got the percent, but the very first one, you have your percent breakdown. But my first question is that when you make these presentations to us, you kind of go just 1 year out. I think it'd be helpful if you went 3 and 4 years out. And I say that because when is the 1% sales tax kicked in that was voted on 2 years ago to replenish the firemen's, policemen's, and firemen's pension fund? It's scheduled to come in at some time in the future. Oh, that far down the road. On the debt and pension, it is interesting that we, the police, both our policemen and our corrections officers, and this data is 2 years old, so it can be checked, have the largest assets under management, approaching $2 billion each. But we're also number one in being the unfunded liability of $1.5 million. And I was wondering what is being done to look at their books to see what it is that they're doing wrong, because of half in our study, over half the similar plans were in profit mode and required little or no contribution from the city. Has there been a overhaul? Look, I know what the answer is. It's a loaded question. But so having said that, will you look at that, because it's costing the city an extra $80 million a year for what one analysis showed was unnecessary?
You probably know more about that particular equation than I do. I know that as of 2030, that the sales tax will take over paying for the unfunded mandate. I mean, for the unfunded pension. Come back.
Our further analysis showed that it would not, it just stopped the bleeding, but it would continue after because it's not enough.
Okay, thank you for that, and I promise you I will look into it further. Has not been at the top of my list, but probably should be, given the numbers that I just gave you. Yes, ma'am.
I really applaud you for having these town halls and for continuing to hear what we have to say. I think it's very special that we have a mayor like Donna Deegan. And the main reason why I'm here is to say I'm in District 10 on the north side. And I traveled all the way over here because it's important that we all work together. We have got to work together. And the thing that I'm asking all of us to do is to call our council people and let them know it makes no sense at all to have that property tax reduction. What we should be trying to do is to work together to help everyone in Jacksonville. In addition, the better our social services are, as you see with good schools, the more likely you're going to have people who have money and businesses want to come to Jacksonville and therefore begin to increase our property tax base. We have got to increase our property tax base as a means of making things better for everyone in Jacksonville. So yes, I'm going to stop right there, but I'm saying again, please, please, please call your council person and the at-large. Do not forget the at-large people. These at-large people are getting off easy because a lot of times we tend to focus on, the council person for our district. At least we in the north side, we tend to do this. And we need to hold everyone accountable, as we should be accountable for the least of us in Jacksonville. Thank you all.
Wow, thank you. I did not pay her to say that. Thank you. Thank you very much. There wasn't even a question in there, which makes me very happy. Okay.
Hi there, I'm Joe Resnick. I'm the upset father from Action News Jax last night. What part of the 12% of health, education, and social actually goes to, what percentage of that is education? Do you know?
Education is not like going to school.
I understand.
We're talking, the city doesn't really play a role in terms of much of the funding.
Okay.
That's mostly the state, and then it's funded also by.
So my question is, does the city council or the city of Jacksonville have any ruling over the school board and their decisions? Nothing about that. Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to find who to yell at about the diminishment in social services at school and the ESE programs. This school year, we have seen incredibly painful problems going on with some of our special needs children. My own son is a part of them, and I am the most powerful advocate for my son, as any parent needs to be. So I've had to become a rallying force to try and find anyone I need to be, anyone I need to find to become a partner in this fight to get CSS students and ESE students the services they need, because we have seen a dramatic reduction in the services they have this year compared to last year. From paraprofessionals in classrooms, the reduction of them, speech therapists in schools, their numbers drastically reduced. And these are crucial services. These services not only benefit these students, but when they're withheld, their ability to transition into general ed is reduced. And when you see general ed children not being able to interact with special needs children, you see a drop in empathy for these children because you no longer get that interaction. And what we need is to raise children with better empathy for one another, because we're trying to raise better people. So I'm gonna keep going around town and going to board meetings and going to any meetings I can find to find the right people to talk to get these programs fixed. Thank you.
Hey, hang on one second. Do you know who your school board member is?
Not yet.
Okay, fine. You live here?
I live on the west side.
On the west side, who would that be? Who's a school board member? Do we know? Charlotte Joyce.
I'll find it. Thank you.
he just gave us a clinic, I think, on what I've been trying to say all night. Nothing exists in a vacuum, y'all. You know, it's very easy to stand up and say, we should only fund core services, and that's all that, everything else should. Look, to me, core services are services that cut to the heart of who we are as a community and make us economically stronger. That's another argument, and you don't say, you're a dad and your heart showed fully on display right there. But also, how much more of a productive citizen is your child going to be that will take pressure off of services that may be needed later when those things happen? So I think that's primarily, I think what Charlotte or the other people are going to say is that's primarily money from the state they're not getting. That's what I think they're going to say, but I don't know. But absolutely, that is the place to take that up. That, and with whoever your representative is in Tallahassee, because that's that seems to be sort of an afterthought at this point.
Then I'll end up going there too.
Okay, I appreciate you very much. You're a good dad.
Hello, thank you for coming. I just wanted to make a comment about in full support of affordable housing. I love that. I agree. We need to talk to our commissioners. We need to tell them that this property tax cut doesn't make sense at all to me. Like, I'm a renter and I'm sorry that I don't pay property taxes, but I'm trying and I want to support Jacksonville. I want to stay here and I want to see it grow and be better. What I think I'm mostly concerned is that our public safety is 51%. I do understand we are a big city, the biggest city, but I come from Miami, and if they are spending less on public safety and coming from there, it's very different. Like, Jacksonville is way ahead in their safety. I think that maybe that should be addressed instead of trying to take our affordable housing, our social work. I don't understand why we would be cutting those types of things instead of public safety, or just reorganizing the amount of money that goes to them. That's fine with me. Like, I'm fine with that. It's just that I don't understand why they're trying to cut such a little portion versus the 51% that's over there. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Well, thank you so much for those comments, and I want to say a couple of things about that. One is that one of the reasons we give you that number is because in Miami, the millage rate, what they bring in, what they spend in their budget, is so much more than what we spend. That's one of the reasons ours is 51% of our budget, because we don't spend as much. We don't bring in as much. We don't spend as much. Does that make sense? Okay, in terms of affordable housing, it may shock you to know, and Josh, our affordable housing director, is back here. And Josh, please correct me if I'm wrong. When we first came into office in 2023, it was the first time ever that our city allocated funds for local affordable housing. Is that right? Right. Most of those funds have come from the federal government, right? So cities around the country who are successfully addressing this issue are pouring tens of millions of dollars into trying to create more affordable housing, which will help us to support people who are teachers and who are police officers and who are hospitality workers and people that simply at today's rates are just not able to get into housing. And that's in turn an engine for their local economy, because now those people are spending more money in the economy. See, it's all connected. You can't separate those things. So I appreciate your comments, but I want you to know that we are making progress on that front. We are investing. We're not investing enough, and I hope that that we can make some progress with these council folks and see if they can see what we're seeing. It's frustrating for me too. Look, hopefully you're seeing that. Thank you. I appreciate you very much. Come on up.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michelle Cunningham. I sent you an email this week. I am a homeowner on Losco Road. 10 days ago at 3:11 a.m., we lost completely power. We called JEA. They said it was a cable issue. The cable underground had wore out because when the builders did not put conduit all the way up. Oh, yeah. So that was a nightmare. We contacted JEA. They say, that's not our problem because of the way the homes are built. We called our HOA. They said that's not our problem. Me and my two neighbors, which are seniors on fixed income, we had to hire a contractor to do the work. This was day 11. Today we finally got power. I called my councilman to just come out, assess, tell us what we need to do. He referred me back to JEA. This is, I don't know, an issue. We don't know who to go to. We put money together. We didn't have enough. The contractor who did it, he took what we had. This is a problem that with all these new developments. I've been where I'm at now for 30 years. We don't know what to do.
I'm gonna let you take Melissa's card.
Yes, ma'am.
We're gonna find out who to connect you with.
Okay, thank you so much.
Well, first of all, I thank you and your staff for coming out and giving this information to us. And I thank all of you for being here. And I put out a challenge for you to tell your neighbors and your friends and even your enemies what's going on. And I guess my question is, what can we do to put pressure on the city council to realize the importance of the services that they are trying to cut out?
Well, it was one of the first questions I got when I walked in the door tonight. I would say that the best thing you can do is use your voice. Call every city council person if you can. Send them letters. Show up at council meetings and talk. Tell them why this is important to you. Tell them what your values are and that you expect them to pay attention to what the residents need. I mean, I think it's much easier. And look, I understand why today a lot of people are checking out because it's just hard to check in. But it's incredibly important. If you want this city to work, you got to show up. You need to use your voice. Whether you agree with me or don't agree with me, I would say to you, use your voice. Because there are way too many people that get upset about this stuff and they throw their hands up and say, but what in the world can I do? And you know what? They may not listen. But if you don't do anything, they darn sure won't. And if they don't, you know what you should do? You should show up at the polls and vote them out. That's what you ought to do. Come on up, sir. Well, the budget will be voted on the 23rd of September. That's when it will be final. But there'll be a number of meetings between now and then where different things will be. Finance meeting is tomorrow? Okay. Finance, what time? Yeah. September 9th will be the next council meeting where they're going to vote on this probably, where they're probably going to vote on this. So, wait, what? Not tomorrow. Tomorrow is the finance committee. I don't know what's on the, Mike, is there anything in the finance committee that they should? That is Mike Weinstein, my chief of staff, by the way. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to make several bullet points. I mean, they're all questions, but I know because of time, you talk about the money and the cuts. Why do we have a director of DEI when we got rid of DEI? On your staff, you don't have one who makes, it doesn't, the budget doesn't show you a staff reduction, but your staff shows.
I have a director of analytics, data and analytics. It's no longer.
Oh, so you just changed the name.
No, I changed the position. That's why I don't have a reduction in my numbers.
Okay, why did we create a chief of public safety job for $185,000?
We didn't create a chief of public safety.
Isn't that Lakeisha Burton's new job?
Keisha Burton was with me for about 3 months when I first got into office. She left because her husband, Greg, had a stroke and she had to leave.
What we have now is, and this may be what you're talking about, Charles Griggs is here. He's the head of our Jacksonville Journey Forward, which was actually started under, let me answer. If you're going to ask me, let me answer. So this is a program that started under Mayor John Payton. And the idea is not to be a public safety organization. It is to try to fund programs that are deterrents to crime, that will help the sheriff's office by keeping kids out of trouble in the first place.
I thought that's what the.
What's that? No, it's not what you hired the sheriff for. You hired the sheriff to arrest the bad guys and to patrol the streets. Not to see. This is what I'm talking about. Go way down the stream when somebody's a kid, and they got nothing to do, and they may not be in a great situation. What can we do to deter that young person from getting involved in crime in the first place? Sheriff, that's not the sheriff's job. Sheriff's job is to put the bad guys behind bars and to make sure that our streets are safe from criminals. Yes, go ahead.
I thought that's what the $50 million for the Hope Kids Alliance is for. Doesn't that fund the programs for these kids?
No, the Kids Hope Alliance is a big umbrella organization that does fund kids programs, but this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about specifically looking at deterrents to crime. For instance, the literacy program we run through the Kids Hope Alliance, right? And that's.
I mean, there's several walk-off agencies that get money from New Kids Alliance. It's almost like a USAID.
Well, I didn't create the Kids Hope Alliance, but that is part that we do run some children's programs through Kids Hope Alliance, who also works with us on a number of things, but it's not the same thing.
Another question: why are we spending $1.5 million to redo the locker rooms of a stadium that we're rebuilding?
Listen, we owed the Jaguars certain things under our lease, and we had to pay for them. I mean, that is something that was non-negotiable. So it's a contract. We had to honor the contract. That's the bottom line on that. It's a $2 billion budget, sir.
I understand it. I truly do. It's 402 pages long. So we had $50 million downtown, 46.8 downtown investment authority commitments that had to be added into this budget.
DIA is a hybrid agency that works from the city and also.
Previous Office of Economic Development commitments. We're spending another $1 million on a riverfront restaurant. You know, we keep talking about everybody wants to come to Jacksonville. Well, we got another $40 million, 39 something, going to downtown investment. But yeah, everybody wants to go downtown, but we keep shelling out all this money to go to downtown.
The Downtown Investment Authority, or the downtown, is that what it's called? DIA? Now I'm getting confused. But they get a lot of their money from the CRA downtown, from tax monies that come in from downtown to reinvest in downtown. Right. Look, if we're going to be a world-class city, we've got to create a riverfront that is attractive for people. We want to attract people to our downtown. Sir, downtown is growing by a lot right now, and we have cranes in the air all over the place, building housing, look,
Taxpayers are paying for it.
and they should, because the return on investment for those things will be enormous. This is have you ever owned a business? When your business has momentum, you don't pull all the money out of it and just sit and watch it die. What you do is you invest in the things that you know are going to bring you the greatest return on investment. And downtown for us is the key in the ignition to a revved up economy. I'm just telling you, it is. If we want to keep ourselves a low tax city, and we do, we need downtown to go. It is attracting businesses, it's attracting young people. We're going to bring the UF campus down there, which is going to attract a whole nother.
Keep spending how much more money on that project?
We have spent the money on the UF Health program, and a lot a lot of it was done in trade with UF Health. But yeah, we spent a lot of money because we're getting a $100 million return right off the bat with the Semiconductor Institute. I'm simply asking you, if you're going to bring these things up, take a look at the return on investment that comes to those things. It's not just spending money.
Here's the problem with return on investment. If I go to an investor and he says, I'm going to give you 26%, I give him my money. 3 years from now, I got 4%. Everything return on investment is speculative.
Well, maybe, but if it's data driven, it's not all speculative. And that's what we're trying to do in this city. We're trying to create better data that we can make sure that we can say, look, that was money well spent, or over here, maybe that wasn't money well spent, so we should invest over here instead. That's what we're trying to do. I have done everything that I can do since I have been in this office to try to create a more efficient government that works at a faster pace and at a pace that is better for our citizens. That's what we've tried to do.
And at a 20% increase, your staff should be selected.
You know, this is that. I love it when people say this. Hang on, no, I'm going to answer this. If you will, please let me answer this. So the previous administration had how many more positions in their administration than we had, Phil? Hang on, I'm asking my staff. How many more? 2 more positions than we had. Right before they left office, they cut a bunch of people out of their administration, okay? So it looked like we had a bunch more people when we actually had less people than they had until 2 weeks before they left office. So, you know, I am all in for hearing contrary opinions. I mean, I have my staff is made up of Democrats, Republicans, and independents. I got across the political spectrum just so I can hear from people who think differently than I do. It's important to me. But let me just tell you, there's a lot of political games that have been played in this city for a long time, and I ain't having it. Well, I'm just telling you, I'm not here to play games. I'm here to make a better city.
Just saying or asking regarding taxes. If they lower the taxes, which is just ridiculous. Oh, sorry. Is this better? Okay. All right. Lowering the taxes is an awful idea. So I'm fine with paying more taxes a little bit, right? For some of these programs. However, the concrete examples that you provided don't really help that many people. It's like 0.05% of our population or 0.003% of our population, right? When we do the math. So what I'm saying is how come we don't fine people who speed more money, because they should be paying more money into the system since they don't care about other people, right? I feel like we really need to increase the speed limit fine for anything over like 20, it should be $1,000. I think it's only like $200 if you go a certain amount over the speed limit. And almost every other day, somebody dies in Duval County. That's the people who die. Forget about the people who are in the car accidents. You talk about health care. They're in the hospitals. Now they're lifelong on whatever kind of care they need. It's ridiculous. The speeding and the reckless driving in Duval County is outrageous. Outrageous.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. We do have a problem with speeding in the city for sure. Yeah, we do. No, we do. She's right about that. Yes, ma'am. Come on up. Oh, and if I could just comment on the one other thing, I acknowledged that the programs help a small amount of people because they're pilot programs. They're pilot programs that are meant to show a proof of concept that if they work, we get private investment. That's what they're meant to do. I'm not looking to be the solution for everybody. I'm looking to show the private sector, hey, this works, invest in this. That's what I'm trying to do.
Thank you, Mayor, for your time this evening. I recognize that there are some people who are going to be all behind you because they have the same moral compass that you do and the same goals. And then there are those who are never, ever going to be convinced, and there's nothing anyone in this room can do, right? My question to you is, you've given us 2 marching orders, right? We can all call, right? We can all get on the phone this evening and send an email to all of our councilmen, etc. But what is your message to those in our community? What is the secret sauce for that group in the middle who did not show up tonight? What can we do to help move the needle forward to achieve your goals? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Honestly, I made the point about my staff for a reason. I truly believe that when we step into an elected position, when I step into a position as mayor of a city that is frankly split almost 50-50, it is my job to not be a party cheerleader. It is to be a Jacksonville cheerleader. But what I have to do is that means I have to be listening to everybody. And there's value in that. There's value in everyone's thoughts, whether they agree or they disagree. The large amount of people, I do believe, and I've said this for a couple of years now, what we're seeing from young people, Daniel, close your ears on this. What we're seeing from young people is, more than anything else, they are registering as no party affiliates because they're tired of the partisan food fight. They're tired of it. It's exhausting, right? It's exhausting. And I guess what I would say to those vast people in the middle, where I really think I probably reside, you got to connect. You've got to continue to be civically engaged, because if you're not, then the people who are on the fringes of both sides are going to continue to be the voices that get all the attention. How do we reach those people? I think we reach them by continuing to make reasoned arguments for why we're spending their money or why we're doing whatever we're doing. It's very easy to yell at people about morals and feel like you're on your high horse about why you feel however you feel. That's not going to change anybody's opinion. But what I'm hoping we can do, especially with this council, because I do believe that most of them truly care about this city, even if they're worried about their political consequences, and they are. I think they truly care, is to make the economic argument, because this is a fiscal job. We're all working with people's money. What's it gonna do for us or not do for us? If I can make a good economic argument for why I want to spend things the way I do, then hopefully that sways some people who think everybody's just being a partisan, right? I mean, I think we all have passionate beliefs about the things that we believe, okay? And that's wonderful and beautiful. But if we're going to reach that vast, I think, majority of people and growing in the middle who are really tired of feeling like they're really not represented by anybody aside from the folks that want theirs, I just don't know why they would connect. And so I think what we have to do is keep doing things like this. We have to keep talking to the people that are in those spaces and make sure they understand that their voices are so very important. And my sincere hope and prayer is that those people start showing up at election time, because that's not what's happening right now. You know, we don't have a very good turnout for our elections, especially our local elections. I can't remember what it was for the mayoral election. Do you remember? Was it like 26%, something like that, or was it higher? I can't remember. Maybe 30 something. But I mean, you know, we live in the United States of America. We get to do this, you know? So I know I'm preaching to the choir right now, but if I had the solid answer to this, I would give it to you. All I can say is we got to keep talking to each other. We're not doing enough talking to each other right now. Everybody's off in their own little universe, believing what they believe and watching what they will reinforce what they believe. And we got to stop doing that. We got to start talking to each other again. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's, and I've tried to do that tonight. Yes, sir. Come on up. Okay, I'm scared. I'm scared now.
What I just want to say is that thank you for what you do. It is the most difficult job to be in the. There's an old quote that says, a good politician is able to stay in the public eye without irritating it. And that's a challenge. And there's another quote that I'd like to share with you, one of our founding fathers. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You tend to demonstrate that. I appreciate that also. And one last statement I want to make, the difference between a statesman and a politician. A statesman thinks of the next generation. A politician thinks of the next election. I'd like to say that we have had a few statesmen, and I'm hoping that you continue to be one.
Thank you. That's very nice.
I was unaware of the city's connection with UF Health until you brought it up. With all of the hospitals this past year, the insurance companies did a whole lot of flip-flopping and it got mishmashed. My question is, did the city get involved at all with either the hospitals or the insurance companies?
Look, we certainly can encourage dialogue, encourage a certain direction, but at the end of the day, we don't have control over what the hospitals do. UF Health is primarily the only hospital that really, in any sort of large way, deals with our indigent population. In terms of the insurance mess, everybody's sort of jockeying for what's best for them or their perceived benefit. And unfortunately, what happens on the other end of that is sometimes people get dropped or left out. We were in a pretty precarious situation, honestly, at the city, just because we're self-insured, but we have, there are a lot of things that the hospitals do that also influence us, and the insurance companies that also influence us. So it's, we don't have any authority over the hospitals, but we certainly did weigh in on wanting those coverages to stay as robust as possible. Yeah, we did. Yes, sir.
They're back. They're back. Yeah, it was kind of a fun weekend. That's the whole plan. We were kind of looking forward to it also. Hello. Okay, sorry about that. I'm just asking if the city, understanding that we've got a money situation, it's not necessarily a problem. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. How can residents participate? In other words, is there any sort of municipal bond program that's available that we can actually add to and help ourselves at the same time? I don't know anything about anything like that in Jacksonville. That might help.
Madam CFO, anything? No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. Happy to look into it though. I'll look into anything that would make us money. I think that would be fantastic. But thank you for that. Oh, that is true. Yes, yes. If you want to contribute your few dollars, I will say that we've opened a city store. All the money goes back into the city. It's called I Dig Jax, and you can get. The whole idea is really just to create pride in the city, and you can get little tchotchkes and things that say I dig Jacksonville. Basically, I love Jacksonville. But it's a cool store. You should check it out on our website. What's the website? Jacksonville.gov/store. Very creative. Yeah, Melissa actually. Yeah, Melissa and Bill Delaney actually and Heather Schatz all came up with that idea, and it's been everybody wants the dinosaur. That's what they want. So we're trying to figure out how to. Right now, we don't spend any money because people just order and it's produced on demand. But people are saying, "Can't you make those dinosaurs?" No, it'd be hard to make those dinosaurs. Yeah, we can't. We can't do that. We cannot do that. Yes.
Can I just say one more thing about the taxes, by the way? If they decrease the taxes or, get rid of the taxes eventually, right? They're gonna have to get the money somehow, right? So what I suspect they're gonna wanna do, which is no one's really talking about, they don't even talk about it on the right, is then they'll say, oh, well, now we've lost the money, right? Just as you said, now we're going to propose a state income tax.
That may be. I don't see this current iteration of the Florida legislature doing that. But it's one of the things we got going for us in this state. We've got so much tourism. It's nice that we don't have a state income tax. But I don't know what they're going to do. They're talking about drastically increasing the sales tax, but I just don't know how that's really a solution. But again, I'm going to keep an open mind and see what they come up with, and we'll work with whatever we have to work to do. Thank you, everybody, so much for coming tonight. I appreciate you very much. Call your calendar.